So, external carotid artery, after crossing the digastric triangle, it runs upwards within the substance of the parotid gland, and here it gives the posterior auricular artery. So, posterior auricular artery we didn't read in the digastric triangle. It runs upward and it divides into two terminal branches, maxillary artery and superficial temporal artery. Transverse facial artery is the branch of the superficial temporal artery. Here you can see the parotid gland, and in the parotid gland you can see the external carotid artery, and just superficial to external carotid artery is the retromandibular vein and facial nerve passing through the substance of the parotid gland. Here you can see internal carotid artery is the anterior structure and internal jugular vein lies posteriorly. In between in these two structures you can see here the glossopharyngeal nerve, the vagus nerve and accessory nerve. And you can also see just lateral to it is the styloid process and the muscles and ligaments attached to it. I have already told that glossopharyngeal nerve, pharyngeal branch of vagus nerve and styloglossus muscle and stylopharyngeus muscle passes between the internal carotid artery and external carotid artery. So in this picture you can see that this is the maxillary artery. We will read about this artery in the later chapter. And this is the superficial temporal artery. This is the transverse facial artery. This is the anterior branch of superficial temporal artery. This is the posterior branch. See how it supplies the most of the part of the skull. This is occipital artery. This is posterior auricular artery, and you can see that the retromandibular vein, I have already discussed about it. Retromandibular vein formed by the union of maxillary vein and superficial temporal vein, and it runs within the substance of the salivary gland just superficial to the external carotid artery, and it divides into the anterior branch and posterior branch. Posterior branch unites with the posterior auricular vein and forms the external jugular vein, and the anterior branch unites with the facial vein and form the common facial vein. Common facial vein drains into the internal jugular vein, and the external jugular vein drains to the subclavian vein.